Live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
A very good evening and welcome to the National News Telecast with the latest updates from home and across borders. I'm Vibhuda Vijay Bandara.
And I'm Nathalia Veeravardhana. First, it's time for us to take a look at the headlines for tonight.
35 Marines of the ill-fated Iranian ship in the sea south of Sri Lanka rescued. Search operations to continue. Sri Lanka will mediate actively as a country in order to build regional and world peace, emphasizes the Foreign Minister in Parliament. A special discussion led by the President to manage the possible impact on the economy due to the war situation. Police deployed at 1,467 filling stations. Limited flights by Sri Lankan Airlines to the Middle East. Iran's firepower considerably weakened, says President Donald Trump. The allowance provided to government officials on disaster duty enhanced by 100%.
Sri Lanka Navy media spokesman Commander Buddhika Sampath says that search operations in the sea of Sri Lanka, where a ship was sunk, are being conducted continuously. Investigations are also being carried out to verify how the accident occurred. Navy media spokesman made these remarks at the media briefing held in the Government Information Department today in this connection.
The Marine Rescue Coordination Centre was informed regarding naval incident in the sea of Sri Lankan waters early dawn today. Accordingly, Sri Lankan Navy started search and rescue operations there. They have been able to rescue 32 persons without any harm. Sri Lankan Navy suspects the victims are crew members of the ill-fated Iranian ship. After the rescue mission, they have been admitted to Karapitiya Teaching Hospital for further treatment. Navy media spokesman also stated that several dead bodies have also been recovered from the respected sea area. The deceased are suspected to be crew members of the ill-fated ship. Sri Lanka Air Force has also extended assistance to conduct this operation.
Today early morning, MRCC received a distress signal, though it was beyond our waters, but it is within our search and rescue region. So as we are a maritime nation, we are obliged to respond. We are the first responders as per the international obligation. So swiftly coordinated with the Maritime Rescue Coordinating Center, and also we disseminate this information to the Sri Lanka Air Force and Coast Guard as well. And we launch and dispatch our craft with all the necessary rescue team and the necessary devices to render humanitarian assistance, and we reached up to that location and continue doing this search operation. So while doing search operation, we found people floating in the water and rescued them, and later on subsequently when we inquired them, we found that those people are belonging to the Iranian ship, and we understood that they need prompt medical attention, and we swiftly transferred them to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital, and right now they are undergoing medical treatment. So we still continue in the search and rescue operation in that particular area with the calculation of weather condition and the sea, maritime, all the maritime related calculation, and we are continuing the rescue operation, search and rescue operation in that particular area. And also we have found some dead bodies in that particular area, and we suspect these bodies are belongs to the same ship because we found these things in the particular search and rescue area, I mean the demarcated area. So being maritime nation, and as per the conventions in the search and rescue and the UNCLOS, we are obliged to respond any of distress out at sea, whether it is a ship, fishing vessel or fishing craft or the aircraft. We are the first responders. So Navy along with the Coast Guard and the Air Force, we responded positively and swiftly, and we could able to rescue 32 survivors, and still we are doing the search and rescue operation in the particular area.
Meanwhile, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says that the Iranian warship was attacked in the Indian Ocean. At a media press briefing held in White House, he said that the ship was attacked by a torpedo shot from a submarine.
In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
Meanwhile, Minister Vijitha Herath says that Sri Lanka will mediate actively as a country in order to build regional and world peace. The minister made these remarks answering a query raised by the leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, in the parliament today. Minister Vijitha Herath said that the Sri Lankan government has expressed deep concern over the rapidly escalating conflict in the Middle Eastern region, warning that the situation poses a serious threat to regional stability as well as international peace and security. He said Sri Lanka has called on all parties involved to exercise maximum restraint and to make immediate and decisive steps to de-escalate tensions. Emphasizing that peace in the region is of direct importance to Sri Lanka, the minister noted that the government supports all necessary measures to prevent further military escalation and to move forward towards a negotiated settlement. The minister further revealed that Sri Lanka has already engaged in diplomatic discussions with several nations regarding this crisis. He said that the President Anurukumar Dissanayake held a telephone conversation last night with the leadership of the United Arab Emirates and that additional discussions were conducted this afternoon after several heads of state and foreign ministers. Describing the situation as a threat to both regional and global security, he stressed that Sri Lanka is actively engaging in diplomatic efforts in the interests of regional and world peace. He also pointed out that nearly 1 million Sri Lankans are employed in the Middle Eastern region, highlighting the direct impact of the crisis on the country. Minister Herath added that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in coordination with the Sri Lankan embassies abroad, established an emergency operations unit the day after the incident occurred. Through this mechanism, Sri Lankans facing difficulties or danger have been provided with channels to make immediate contact with authorities. He further stated that discussions have been held with airlines and confirmed that flights to Oman, including Muscat and Salalah, remain operational.
President Anurukumar Dissanayake says that measures will be taken to win challenges collectively by focusing constant attention to the new trends erupted in all sectors. The President emphasized this during a special discussion held at the President's office this morning. The aim of the discussion is to look into the immediate actions taken in view of the unrest that has arisen in the Middle East region. Attention was also focused to win the challenges that will erupt in supply of fuel and gas in future and to manage required stocks. They also discussed the matters pertaining to tourism, export, investments and other related topics. Talks were held at length regarding the matters of food security and its influence possibly caused to inflation of the country and to solve the problems in the field. The President instructed the officials to raise concerns to maintain the economic stability gained by Sri Lanka at present and to minimize the negative effect caused to normal life of the people. They stressed the need to minimize the impact caused to the Colombo harbour in case of closure of Suez Canal and Strait of Hormuz disrupting naval activities. Another discussion was held today at the President's office under the patronage of the President to look into the safety and welfare of foreign tourists currently in Sri Lanka, as well as to ensure the protection and well-being of the Sri Lankan migrant workers overseas. The President focused his attention to the programs implemented by the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment, Tourists and Civil Aviation Service to solve the problems faced by the migrant workers and foreign tourists who have arrived in the country. A 24-hour emergency service has been activated through embassies for them to present their problems. According to the information received so far, no Sri Lankan in relevant country has been severely affected. Required provisions to provide necessary facilities for the people who have asked support through embassies have already been directed to the relevant embassies. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority has instructed a hotline number 1912 to provide required support for the tourists staying in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment has established a special operations centre to provide information and support to Sri Lankan migrant workers overseas, accessible via the 1989 hotline. In addition, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has coordinated with all Sri Lankan diplomatic missions in the Middle East and Gulf region to establish an integrated mechanism. All missions, together with the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment, are on standby to respond promptly in emergencies and to ensure the safety of Sri Lankan migrant workers. The President instructed the officials to provide the facilities needed to bring back the Sri Lankan tourists and businessmen who have been stranded in Middle East countries. The flights are being gradually returning to normalcy at present. The officials of the Sri Lankan Airlines who joined the discussion said that the required facilities can be provided without facing any difficulty.
Now, Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa says that in the backdrop of the war situation in the Middle East, security have been tightened in 85 places in Sri Lanka. At the Cabinet press briefing held today, the minister said that police security has been provided to 1,467 filling stations as well. Cabinet media spokesman Minister Nalinda Jayatissa stated that the war has never supported the world's progress but has instead acted as an obstacle, emphasizing that the true victims of conflicts driven by political interests are ordinary citizens. He stressed that the government has consistently opposed the destruction of civilians and their property and remains firm in that stance. The minister noted that comprehensive security measures have been implemented across the country. Security has been provided to all 1,467 fuel stations island-wide, while protection has also been provided to 85 foreign embassies, high commissions and their official residencies. In addition, the police have been instructed to take legal action against individuals illegally hoarding fuel. Commenting on the recent fuel queues, the minister explained that the current fuel stocks were obtained through term tenders and therefore no significant price fluctuation is expected. He said that price adjustments would only become necessary if fuel is procured through spot tenders. He added that even the recent price increase was not a substantial hike and pointed out that global crude oil prices have shown fluctuations. Drawing a comparison between the 2022 crisis and the present situation, the minister said that although the fuel queues seen in 2022 and those appearing now may look similar in television, the causes are entirely different. Minister Jayatissa recalled that during the tenure of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, queues emerged because the country lacked sufficient US dollars to import fuel. As a result, letters of credit could not be opened and fuel shipments did not arrive in time. With limited supplies, distribution had been restricted through QR-based system, which ultimately led to long queues. In contrast, he said the current situation is not due to a dollar shortage, but emphasized that sufficient dollars are available, fuel shipments have been ordered, and adequate stocks are in storage, with distribution continuing as normal. However, the minister observed that panic created through media reports, social media discussions, or personal assumptions have driven people to rush to fuel stations to stock up at once. This sudden surge in demand has strained the Bowser distribution system, sometimes forcing fuel stations to close temporarily for several hours. Nevertheless, he assured that fuel stocks remain available. The minister concluded that there is no extraordinary factor behind the situation, stating that as long as fuel is available, properly ordered and dispatched in high quantities from Kolonava when necessary, the queues can be effectively managed and eliminated.
Meanwhile, Sri Lankan Airlines has started limited flights to Middle East countries. The Sri Lanka Airlines stated that after thoroughly scrutinizing the operations in the Middle East region, several flights have been recommenced under limited basis. After erupting the conflict situation in the Middle East, flights to that region were suspended recently. Since the aviation zone in the Middle East was open for a limited period, flight number UL231 from Colombo to Dubai and UL232 from Dubai to Colombo were operated today. Meanwhile, an aircraft belonging to Fitzair arrived in Sri Lanka this dawn from Dubai, carrying 133 passengers. Another aircraft from the Smartwing airline also arrived in Katunayake early dawn from Muscat in Oman. Meanwhile, officer in charge in the Katunayake airport stated that two aircrafts belonging to Fitzair and Air Arabia Airlines left Katunayake airport yesterday for Dubai and Sharjah consecutively.
And now in your latest updates from Iran, US President Donald Trump states that Iran's offensive capabilities have been significantly restricted. In a statement made from the White House, he noted that Iran's air defense system has now completely collapsed.
President Trump says the number of missile attacks carried out by Iran is declining. Reports indicate that the number of civilians killed in the combined strikes against Iran so far has reached nearly 2,000. For these operations, the United States have utilized over 50,000 ballistic missiles and more than 2,000 drones. Since the start of the conflict, the number of troops deployed by the United States exceeds 50,000, along with approximately 200 fighter jets. The Israeli military says it has carried out strikes targeting the Iranian president's office, a secret nuclear complex, and commanders of the Revolutionary Guard Corps in Tehran. In response, Iran has launched attacks against Israel and United States bases located in Gulf countries. Yesterday afternoon, the United States consulate in Dubai was hit by an Iranian drone strike. Speaking to the media, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that the drone strike hit the consulate's parking lot. The Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, one of the largest US bases in Gulf region was also targeted by a missile attack. Currently, Iranian attacks have targeted US military bases in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iraq and the United Arab Emirates. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz, through which approximately 20% of global oil and gas ship transport, issuing an order to the United States International Development Finance Corporation, President Donald Trump has directed that risk insurance be provided to vessels traveling through this area. He has also instructed the US Navy to provide protection to those ships if necessary.
A significant milestone in Sri Lanka's paediatric healthcare was reached today at the Led Ridgeway Hospital. In a move to bridge the gap for families battling rare genetic conditions, a new national initiative titled Metabolic Support Sri Lanka has been officially launched. This collaborative effort aims to transform the landscape for children living with inborn errors of metabolism, offering a beacon of hope for those with inborn errors in the metabolism, offering a beacon of hope for those who have long felt invisible within the health system.
The launch, which took place this morning, saw a gathering of approximately 50 families from across the island, all of whom have been affected by inherited metabolic disorders. Working in direct partnership with the Metabolic Support UK and the Rare Disease Forum of Sri Lanka, the initiative has been designed to provide a structured network of clinical expertise and peer support. Health officials at the event highlighted that the Metabolic Support Sri Lanka will serve as a dedicated patient and family organisation. Its primary mission is to improve diagnostic services and laboratory capacity, ensuring that rare conditions are identified much earlier than in previous years. Beyond the clinical scope, the organisation is focused on raising public awareness and strengthening the links between local clinicians and global metabolic research networks. A key highlight of today's proceedings was the official unveiling of the Metabolic Support Sri Lanka website. This digital platform is set to become a virtual resource, providing families with accessible information, guidance and a pathway to peer support groups. Pediatricians in attendance noted that while these disorders are individually rare, the collective impact on the Sri Lankan community is substantial. By fostering international collaboration and advocating national policy changes, the initiative hopes to ensure that every child, regardless of rarity of their condition, receive specialized care they deserve. Reporting for the Midday News, this is a major step forward for health in 2026.
To discuss on this great initiative here in Sri Lanka today, we have with us Professor Ruanthi Pereira, President of the Rare Disease Forum of Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians. A very good evening to you, Professor.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure and honor to have you here with live on ChannelEye English News tonight. Rare disease is not that much spoken topic here in Sri Lanka, especially among our viewers. We would like to know, what is Rare Disease Forum all about?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to tell you all what are the rare diseases. Rare diseases are diseases that are occurring with an incidence less than normal. That is about an incidence less than 1 in 2000. So if you take, so it sounds very rare, but when you collectively take the number of children who are affected island-wide, it amounts to a bigger number. So we, representing the Rare Disease Forum of the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians, is a forum under the professional body which is the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians. So this forum has been established since for the last 10 years, and since then our main aim was to create this support group which will help our patients with rare disease to unite with globally and get support from the global networks. So after 10 years we have succeeded in that effort, and with the collaboration from the Metabolic Support UK, we have launched the Metabolic Support Sri Lanka today at the Led Ridgeway Hospital, Colombo.
Now, these rare genetic conditions that many Sri Lankan children as well as adults who battle them daily. Why such an initiative now? What prompted such an initiative to happen now? What is the significance in this time period?
I think the significance or the need had been there for a long time, but the problem with the children with rare disease or the problems that they face were, it was very difficult to diagnose. Mainly, sometimes the clinicians, sometimes the parents, they are unaware of the symptoms that they present. They don't come for medical treatment, and if they come for medical treatment, these diseases are not suspected. Then the next problems come, even a clinician suspects a disease, we don't have relevant investigations to carry out in order to diagnose these diseases. Then even if we diagnose the diseases, we don't have treatments available to treat these children. So in whole, the children with rare diseases are in a big agony these days. Not only the children, the families are affected as well. So sometimes these families just go missing, the children die without identifying any cause. They attribute to so many things, evil spirits or something, and then the families, number of children die in their family. So as a rare disease forum, the initiative is very, very important for us to get the assistance from the global rare disease forums and the organizations to establish diagnosing facilities here and to liaise with the stakeholders for authorizing and getting down treatments. Sometimes the treatments are very expensive, but on the other hand, there are very cheap, easily accessible treatments which are unfortunately not available in our country. The main reason is that if you take the number of children that are taking a particular treatment might be low. So as a result, the organizations who are dealing with the importation of the medications, they are not keen considering the profits that they get treating a smaller number of children. So as the Rare Disease Forum and the Metabolic Support Sri Lanka, we are trying to liaise with these organizations, stakeholders and government, and to get these medications freely available to our children who are affected with rare diseases in Sri Lanka.
Before we wrap things up, one final question from you, Professor. Now, this being launched, the Metabolic Support Sri Lanka program being launched today, how do you all plan, how your organization is planning to help these Sri Lankan patients as well as their families getting together to combat or to face this challenge?
Yeah, the main event that happened was the launch of the Metabolic Support website. Any patient group who's having a rare diseases, they can join with this, log on to this website and get information. And even a clinician or a doctor who wants to get information, they are readily available. Through the Rare Disease Forum, we have created a network where we can help them to get the benefits from this Metabolic Support Sri Lanka group.
Thank you so much, Professor Ruanthi Pereira, President of the Rare Disease Forum, for being with us today on ChannelEye English News, for giving us the information of this great initiative. And with that, we are going to take a short break and we'll bring you more news right after this.
Live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Getting back to more news, the government of Japan will extend grant aid for projects aimed at establishing protection shelter for women and girls, constructing new school facilities and rebuilding a tsunami-damaged school canteen in a Muslim community under its grant assistance for grassroots human security project. The grant contracts were signed today at the Embassy of Japan in Colombo.
The government of Japan has decided to provide grant assistance for 3 community-based projects in Sri Lanka under its Grants Assistance for Grassroots Human Society project, commonly known as GGP. The project includes the establishment of a new protection shelter for women and girls, the construction of new school facilities, and the rebuilding of a school canteen damaged by 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami in a Muslim community. The grant contract signing ceremony took place today at the Embassy of Japan in Colombo. The agreements were signed by the Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, along with the representatives of Child Action Lanka and the Kattankudi Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited. The initiative is expected to strengthen community welfare, enhance educational infrastructure, and support vulnerable women and children in the respective areas.
It's a great pleasure to welcome you all today for the signing ceremony for the funding of 2 very important grant projects in the northern and eastern provinces. The funding scheme is called GGP, as was announced earlier by the MC. It's a grant assistance for grassroots and human security projects. The scheme is based on the concept of human security, as was mentioned. The government of Japan adopts as an important pillar of its diplomacy, with the aim of protecting and empowering individuals, especially the vulnerable people, to live in dignity and free from fear and want. The northern and eastern provinces are among the most underprivileged regions in Sri Lanka and face huge development challenges. In Japan's country development cooperation policy for Sri Lanka, established and made public in January 2025, a special focus is placed on these provinces. During the official visit by His Excellency President Dissanayake to Japan last September, the 2 leaders of Japan and Sri Lanka also affirmed the importance of addressing challenges of conflict-affected communities in the north and east. Bearing in mind that national reconciliation and socio-economic development are closely interrelated, the Japanese side reaffirmed in the said summit meeting between the 2 leaders its commitment to continuing support for the development of the northern and eastern provinces. As the representative of each recipient organization has already explained the overview and anticipated effects of the projects, I will not dwell on them further. I wish to extend my deepest gratitude to those who have made dedicated efforts for materializing these projects. I am confident that the projects signed today will not only contribute to the enhancement of the quality of life of beneficiaries and socio-economic development of the country, but will also stand as enduring symbols of the unwavering friendship between the peoples of Japan and Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Now, according to police, a special security program is being implemented targeting embassies and foreign tourists of this country with the situation arisen in the Middle East. Police media spokesman, Assistant Superintendent of Police F.U. Wootler says that apart from police, the assistance of the Thai armed forces have also been obtained for this security arrangement. Police media spokesman, Assistant Superintendent of Police F.U. Wootler said that due to the security situation currently unfolding globally, the Inspector General of Police had issued instructions to implement a special security plan across all 608 police stations and 48 regional divisions in Sri Lanka. He said the measure was aimed at ensuring safety and security of diplomatic missions, including embassies and High Commission officers, as well as foreign tourists visiting the country. The spokesman noted that Sri Lanka Police, together with Special Task Force and Tri-Forces, comprising the Sri Lanka Army, Sri Lanka Navy and Sri Lanka Air Force, were collaborating to provide multi-layered protection under the comprehensive security framework. He further explained that the security arrangements included deploying personnel for static security at specific locations, increasing mobile patrols for proactive monitoring, and conducting intelligence operations through intelligence officers for information gathering and threat assessment.
The allowance provided to government officials who are on duty during extended disaster occasions has been raised by 100%. This has been based on the observations and proposals of the Ministry of Public Administration, Local Government and Provincial Councils, Department of Management Services and Department of National Budget.
Accordingly, the officials who perform duties during the extended disaster situations and also during future disaster situations will be entitled for the increased allowance. The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the proposal presented by President Anrukumar Disanayak in his capacity as the Minister of Defence to issue circular instructions to enable the payment. The necessity to revise the allowance in order to suit the present economic conditions has also been identified previously. Steps have been taken to update institutions belonging to the education sector damaged due to the cyclone Ditwa. Under this, 150 national schools and national colleges of education will be renovated. A sum of 2,274 million rupees has been estimated for this purpose. The proposal presented to provide necessary grants for the concerned renovations by Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya has been approved by the Cabinet. The demand received by the committee appointed to implement the recommendations of the committee appointed to review the government recruitment process and the staff management has been considered on the 12th of last month. Accordingly, Cabinet approval has been granted for the recommendations presented to it. The recommendations were presented by Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, the Prime Minister. Mainly is to be taken over by the Ministry of Health and Mass Media in order to develop it to the level of tertiary treatment with the approval of the Governor of the North Western Province. The Cabinet approved the proposal presented by Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa for this purpose.
Getting into the weather updates, mainly dry weather is expected to prevail over most parts of the island today, according to the latest forecast. However, misty conditions can be expected in parts of the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, southern, northwestern, north central and over provinces during the early hours of the morning.
Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange ended today's trading positively. The all-share price index closed at 22,577.41 after rising by 134.03 points, which represent a 0.60% change. The S&P SL20 index closed at 6,357.66, up by 44.01 points and by 0.70%. Total market capitalization at the close of trading stood at 8.022 trillion rupees. Market turnover for the day amounted to 4.68 billion rupees with 171.28 million shares traded. And now for your latest sports updates from the T20 World Cup. The first semi-final of the T20 World Cup cricket tournament between South Africa and New Zealand is now in progress at Eden Gardens in Kolkata.
South Africa posted a total of 169 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in their 20 overs. Chasing a victory target of 170 runs, New Zealand were 107 runs without a loss of any wickets in 8.1 overs when last reports came in. After winning the toss, New Zealand invited South Africa to bat first. Hayden Markram and Quinton de Kock opened the innings for South Africa. Quinton de Kock was out for 10 runs when the total was 12. Marco Jansen top scored with an unbeaten 55 runs, while Duval Brevis and Tristan Stubbs made useful contributions of 34 and 29 runs respectively. In bowling, Cole McConjee, Rachin Ravindra and Matt Henry shared 2 wickets each, while Loki Ferguson and James Neesham captured a wicket each.
And with that, we end today's national news telecast. See you again tomorrow. Signing off for now, I'm Vibhuda Vijay Bandar alongside Natalia Veeravarthanan. Good night.
Good night.